What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning back into the channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new Indian Scout Bobbers. The new 2025, I think, Indian Scout Bobbers that are just coming out, and I'm seeing a lot of these demos on YouTube. So today I really just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about what I really like about the new Scout Bobbers, what I really like about what Indian has done to the new Scout Bobber line. But ultimately, I wanted to give you guys my personal reasons as to why I wouldn't upgrade or get the new Scout Bobbers over the old Scout Bobbers. I'm on a 2022 Indian Scout Bobber 20, got it last year, and it has been awesome. So let's get it started. What I like about what Indian did with the Scout Bobber line is just like a statement of investment into their entry-level motorcycles. And now what I mean by that is, when you take a look, they not only came out with one Scout Bobber or one Scout, they came out with 5 different variations. Now that's pretty bold. Like, if you compare it with Harley Davidson and the Nightster, you know, you have that one option and one option only. And a year later, they came out with the Nightster S. Sure, but just off the bat, Indian is coming out with 5 Scouts. I should stop saying Scout Bobbers. My apologies. Scouts, right? And there is a Scout Bobber variation, I get that. But like 5 Scouts to choose from right off the bat, I think that's a bold statement. I think that just shows you how Indian is really invested into the Scout lineup, invested into kind of like their entry-level gateway to Indian motorcycles. Because the Scout has done really well for Indian, and I think they want to continue to see that growth. They want to see new riders on Indians, which I think is great. The price hasn't changed for the base model, really. That's the first thing that I really liked about what I saw in the Scouts, right? The second thing kind of related to that is now they're trickling down all of the technology from their other models into the Scout lineup, right? So what I mean by that is the infotainment system specifically. That is an awesome, awesome move by Indian. And again, you don't see a lot of manufacturers investing into their entry lineup like that. Most times, the entry-level bikes get basically absolutely nothing, and it's a way to kind of keep costs down, etc. But I like the fact that Indian gives you the options to add these packages that allows you to kind of pick and choose what you want. Absolutely brilliant business model. I think that's a lesson to be learned by a lot of different motorcycle manufacturers. Woo. All right, so we're gonna pull over here to my usual spot, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about the Scouts. So as I was saying, they're flowing the new technology down to their Scout lineup, like the ride command, things like cruise control. You know, I just like the little things that they did here and there. Definitely one of the biggest sore points of the Scout Bobber was that it didn't have a fuel gauge, and now that they've added one. The third thing that I really like what they did is, I kind of mentioned it before, but it's a modular system, right? So you can get a base model and you can upgrade the packages so that you get the ride command or you get something different. You can basically do that with all 5 of their Scouts. Now, the Scout 101 has their premium package already included and whatnot, but I just like the philosophy of, like, you can pick and choose what you want, right? I think that's a great move, because a lot of times the biggest question that people ask is, hey, can I install the new ride command into the old Scout models? I don't know the answer to that. It just kind of goes to show you that people like that stuff. People like having the options. People like having choice. So that's always, always a good move, I think, by any manufacturer. Let's talk about fuel efficiency. They tout a 20% fuel increase. And what I thought was kind of interesting is that they talked about the increase in fuel tank size, but it was like 0.1 gallon improvement. Really, with the 20% fuel efficiency increase, get a little bit more bang for your buck out of your fuel tank. So I think that's I think that's another solid point. I know that a lot of Scout owners are not completely happy with this, the fuel tank size. They wanted something a little bit larger. Good for Indian for listening to their customers and giving people what they want without having to sacrifice like size, shape, and things of that nature. I think that was a pretty smart move. And the last thing that I like is obviously the power difference. Although it's not much, It does have like 105 to 110 horsepower depending on what you get. And I think they touted a 13% torque increase, which is pretty great. It's better than keeping it the same, obviously, but I like the fact that, you do get a little bit more power from your Scout. And the Scouts and the Scout Bobbers, I think to me, were kind of, near the top of the class in terms of the performance for a long time. And so the fact that they've anteed up again, great job. Keep it going. So with all that being said, I still have thought about it. I thought about, is it worth trading in the Scout Bobber for the new Scouts? The Scout 101 I think looks pretty nice. I'm not going to lie. Ultimately, I've come down to no, I'm not going to trade in my Scout Bobber 20 for a new Scout. Here's sort of my reasoning. And these are just my personal reasons. You may not agree with me, but this is just my thought process, all right? So let's start with the first one. Now, I was drawn to the Scout Bobber and the Scout Bobber 20 for its looks. Now, I like the fact that they've kind of kept the silhouette very similar, but, if you were to ask me, I still prefer this model look over the new ones. I believe that this is one of the better looking engines out there. It has a really nice industrial look. I like the chrome accents against the flat black. I think it's just really well executed. I really like the flow of the frame. I like the way it looks. For the most part, I really like how everything flows together. It looks really sharp. Now with the new Scouts, I'm not a fan of the all black engine. They say that it looks more industrial, it looks more modern, etc. To me, I think you lost a little bit of something. And I'm a person that really likes to see intricate designs. I think the Scout Bobber also has a really distinct, unique look. The new Scout Bobbers just looked a little bit too modern. Also, I don't really like the fact that they completely dropped the Scout 60. Now, I was really disappointed that they didn't have anything one tier lower, like they have the Scout 60 and then they have the regular Scout lines, right? The Scout Bobber, Scout Rogue, etc. Because for people who don't need all of this performance, like people who are just starting out may prefer the Scout 60 versus a Scout Bobber, Scout Rogue, things of that nature. But maybe next year or maybe in a couple of years, they'll come out with something to kind of help differentiate an entry-level model versus with the new Scout lines. The other reason why I wouldn't trade in my Scout Bobber for the new Scouts, there's nothing wrong with this Scout Bobber to me. Yeah, it doesn't have the tech and all that stuff, but like I'm using my phone for navigation. I'm using my phone for music. So I think I'm good. I'm set. Like the point that I'm trying to make here is this Scout Bobber already makes me happy, and it's a natural tendency to want the new shiny thing. But I'm happy with this bike. I'm content. I'm going to stay content. Maybe I'm just trying to talk myself into not losing a whole bunch of money on this bike. But anyways, that's my other point, right? Like we've already put a ton of money into this bike, whether it's in modifications, whether it's in the cost of the actual vehicle itself, or the motorcycle itself. You'd be losing a ton of money trading it in towards the new Scouts. That's something that I've done a lot over the years, and I want to kind of curb myself from that. Like, I want to wean myself off from that. The other reason, and maybe this is the biggest one for me, is, let's say that I were to trade in and take the loss, take the hit on my Scout Bobber. The power differential isn't that great. Like, 105 horsepower to 110 horsepower. Like the Scout 101 has 110, but really all the other four models have 105, and so like 5% difference, 5 to 10 in horsepower, and then what 13% in torque. To me, it doesn't seem worth it. You can definitely get those kind of gains by adding a 2-into-1 exhaust, get a tune, get an air cleaner, and you'd be right there. The power differential wasn't big enough for me to like really want to jump into the new Scouts. Like if you were to tell me 120, 125 horsepower and maybe like 90 foot-pounds of torque, now you're talking. But 5 to 10% increase in horsepower and 13% torque, I don't know. I'll pass. Now, if you don't own a Scout and it's either between the older Scout models versus the newer Scout models, do whatever you want. Maybe you can find a 2023 model or older for a lot cheaper. Maybe that's a good route to go. But for me, I think I'm going to stick with my Scout Bobber. I don't know. Those are my justifications. You may agree with me, you may not, but I don't think it was a big enough splash for me to actually want to upgrade. Ultimately, it's up to you guys. It's up to you. You make the decision whether it's worth it for you or not. Maybe it's worth it to have that bump in performance. Maybe you want to try out the new thing. Maybe you want the new tech. But if that's you, by all means, go for it. I think they're still great bikes. I still support Indian motorcycles. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.